I'm Dr. Uche, a practicing physician who's been coaching others to write and publish their biographies since 2013. The first autobiographies I brought to publication were for my dad and granddad, and those took more than 5 years and lots of mistakes. On this channel, I will show you the tools I use to perfect the process so that you can have your biography done in 6 months or less without the delays and mistakes. Remember to subscribe and share with your friends. Let's dig in.
Something else really important that applies to every single one of us, and we do this unconsciously. We often follow it without even thinking about it, but it's actually something important to ask older relatives and actually get it written down. What am I talking about? You have to hang with me here to see. This is really important for your biography. I'm talking about family values. Do you know that most of the things you do actually have to do with the values you saw growing up that became part of you? I grew up in many different places, and I know that it was pretty commonplace for my family to be in a place where perhaps we didn't have an ancestral link, okay? I grew up outside my ancestral country and far away from where I was born. And at the end of the day, by the time I was 27, I had lived in 3 different countries. And so I distinctly remember growing up with my parents who are Nigerian born and raised, and even being far away from Nigeria, my parents were never the type to go looking for Nigerian food and insist that's all we're going to eat at home. They didn't even bother looking for it. My parents always had the mentality, if you go to Rome, you do as the Romans. So wherever we found ourselves, we would eat what everyone else is eating there. So I grew up not accustomed to this tendency to go hunting for something because it's what you knew growing up, because it's what you're familiar with growing up. It's such an alien concept to me. For me, I eat whatever I find. Other people they're eating it, they are fine, I will be fine, okay? So that tendency to merge into wherever I am and make do with what I find is something that I have continued to live with. I don't bother, I don't fuss about things. I do whatever everybody else is doing around me. And so that's one family value. Another family value I saw growing up, my parents were never extravagant, so you'll never find me living way above my means. There was always the thing about spend a little, save some. Okay, so you would always save for tomorrow. My parents would never spend above their means. Never, ever. The other thing, something like things you grew up with. I didn't grow up with a lot of toys. My mother did not believe in toys, but there were lots of books. I grew up with books everywhere, all over the house. And that's how I became an avid reader, because we always had tons of them. But I can pretty much count on one hand the number of toys I had around me. My mother just didn't believe in that. That was not her way of raising kids. She raised us to be readers, to want to be curious, to want to learn something new, to enjoy to read, to want self-improvement. That's how I grew up. There was a particular summer my mother insisted that all her 4 children were going to learn how to type, okay? I'm old enough to remember when we actually had typewriters, but basically we had to learn how to type without looking. So to know where the A, S, D, F keys were. This is some summer we were in high school, and that's what we did all summer. Learn how to type without looking at the keyboard. And so for me now, as a much older millennial or exennial, going through medicine now in an era of electronic medical record, I'm a very fast typer because I learned this as a teenager, learn how to type. So these are just some examples of values that we were raised with, that we carry forth, into adulthood, and we do it unconsciously without thinking about it. But these are actually important things to ask an older relative. And I think a very good way to get this information is just to ask open-ended questions. Tell me your philosophy about relationships, about being friends with people. What's important? What should you do? What should you try to not do? Tell me what's important about handling money. Tell me what's important about choosing where to live. Tell me what's important about choosing a life partner. Tell me what's important about religion, spirituality, what you believe in. I grew up believing in the power of prayer. My parents prioritized prayer and Christian faith. So everybody has a set of values they grew up with. And that's really important to gather from an older family member. And that makes great reading in your biography. Okay? As usual, I love to know what you think. Please let me know in the comments. Does it resonate with you? What do you think? What values did you grow up with? I'd love to know. And I'll see you in my next video. Take care.